Hello there, welcome to the next pastel workshop which we're going to be doing today, which is of Maryport, and the photograph that we're using today was supplied by Lorraine de Graaf. I'll just pop this in front of the camera so you can have a look at it. This is a previous attempt. As you can see, it's a lot of reds and oranges in there, and it's a very simple composition, and I'm hoping that this will be perfect for you beginners and also intermediates. It's really nice sometimes to just be very tactile with the pastels and just push them around and have some fun and do something that isn't too challenging. It just puts you in a nice mindset for the day. I found myself that it really helps with managing pain to do art. Anything creative helps with pain. It really helps with nervousness. It helps with anxiety and depression. So that's why I've been doing these since lockdown began, because I'm having to shield because I've got heart and lung condition. I really wanted to be able to give something back. And this was my only thing that I had, was just to offer these lessons up. So if you've never joined me before, I'll just explain briefly what we're doing. These are pastel paintings. I recommend that you use Inscribed Pastels, 48 pack. I'll put the link on the YouTube channel for you. I don't have any affiliations, I'm not making money from it. I'll just try and find the cheapest one possible for you. And for paper, I can send my tints. If you don't know what fixative is something that you spray on the paper which helps stabilise the pastels because they're very chalky. I'll just show you. They're very, very chalky. So even when they've been stabilised, they'll still be chalky, but the idea is to stop it from falling off the paper when it's in frame. If you don't have fixative, you can use hairspray and stand a good 2 or 3 feet away from your painting, and you just go across like this and up and down like that. And you do that maybe 3 or 4 times. Give your paper, tip it up like this on its side. Give it a tap onto the paper, and like so. And if there's dust left over, then you know that you need to apply more. And you just keep doing that until everything's quite stable for you. So that then gets you a painting. The paper is slightly oversized A4, so that means you could buy a Wilko's frame with a mount. You can frame it for £8 or something like that, or however much it is. I think it's £6.50 for a frame. And then you can give it away to your friends, or you can sell them, or you can keep them in home. It's wonderful. It's just amazing to see. I mean, I've literally had hundreds of you sending me paintings that you've done through these workshops, and it's incredible what you've all been doing. I'll quickly mention the Students' Prize before we get going. As a result of all this amazing artwork that's been coming through these workshops, I decided to do a prize for all of you, really, and to raise some money for PPE. It's called the Students in Lockdown Prize. It's being judged by Jen Gash, who's the winner of Sky Art Landscape Artist of the Year 2018. She's on board, and so is lovely Sarah Reid from Penrith and from Red Rose Studios, and we also have Hayden Morris judging us. So it finishes a week on Monday. So what date is that? Where you can actually put your submissions in. I think it's the 11th. No, sorry, the 10th. Let me work this out now. Sorry, it finishes on the judging. I'm in August, that's why it looks wrong. I'm looking at my calendar. Right, so we're Tuesday the 3rd. So the last chance that you'll get to enter, I believe, is on the... Where are we at now? Trying to... Bear with me. I'm sorry guys, I should know these dates off by heart, shouldn't I? Well, yes, it's a week on Monday. I'll pull the date up and put it on the text on the body of the YouTube rather than faffing around trying to find the dates. Right, so this is what we're going to do today. It's quite a brave one if you've never done it before, because colour can be frightening. It's very vivid in colours. The oranges are very strong. The reds are very strong. So when you do this, I want you to go at it gently to begin with, bearing in mind that any colour that you place on the pastel paper is going to slightly mute your blacks. So don't go in too heavy in this area of sky and the water in the background with your pastel. Try and be economic with it if you can, and then you'll find that the black goes over the top of it better. But if there's too much pastel loaded on there, it's too creamy, the black's going to look kind of transparent. So that's that. So if you've got a charcoal pencil or a coloured pencil, you can use them as well. Just go ahead and do what I've done here, which is I've just put the horizon line in. And then these are the colours that I'm going to be using today. So that's a rough idea of my palette. If you're serious about using pastels and you want to invest more, these are mainly Sennelier, and the big ones are Unison, and they're very good quality. I must admit that it is a huge improvement when you do decide to go up to a better product. But having said that, when you start something new, you don't want to waste money on something that you may or may not love, or you know, it's just not worth it. So I'm just going to bring this closer to me so I can have the pastels right next to the paper. I'm not moving the table around, which I did the other day by accident. Right, so that's me settled, and I'm looking at the photograph here, and we do have quite a bold yellowy gold up here, so I'm just putting the flat side of the pastel down on here, and I'm going to put probably a bit more of this yellow than is there, because I want it I want the light to show through. So I'm putting really just a sort of colour underneath, just to, I know I'm going to be going over it with different colours, but it just brightens it underneath, because that colour is always going to be there on the paper. And then with the circular motion, using the flat 3 fingers, make sure you've got a clean cloth at hand to keep your fingers nice and clean, because obviously the colours, they do run into each other if you leave it on your fingers. So I'm just putting in the highlighted areas using this yellow at the moment. I want an idea of where everything is and how we're going to start on this composition. So we have some quite thick clouds that sit along here. I'm showing you how to do them shortly. But for now I'm just going to start building up some colours. The next thing we've got quite a bright orange. It's quite scary when you think that's such a strong orange, isn't it? But I'm going to start from the outside and just tentatively bring it in until I feel that's enough colour. So I'm going to go all the way down. We're going to have some reds on here as well. And I'm just filling in the page with what they would call an underpainting. Because there's so much, it's quite a complex sky really. Even, you know, for me to tackle it's quite complex. But it's going to be worth it. So I'm just going to come in here with this orangey glow over the yellow. I'm just filling in areas now where there's gaps. I know that this is more orange than yellow here. Try and leave a space for your sun. Don't go into that area too strongly. Try and keep it free, because your yellow will be sapped by any darker colours that are underneath. Again, circular motion, and I'm just going to push this all around, and as you can see that yellow is still sort of there, although it's starting to disappear into the orange, but we're still getting a sense of that brightness here from the sun, which is going up there. You can see that the light is hitting in different places, and I'm just keeping that nice and soft and subtle for now, but we will be going in with more golden yellows. This is a nice golden yellow, and I want to accent this even stronger now. This little pocket of sky that's showing up here. Beautiful golden colours. And just push along with your fingers in the direction of your pastels and allow it to fade away. That's all it needs. Just as simple as that. I know I am aware that it's lighter here, so I'm going in with the cream now, just to highlight these areas even more. And then I can work around that and just push it into that orangey yellow. There we go. And that's quite a subtle difference along here, so I'm just pushing that back into the orange. Now we're going to go in and brighten it up a little bit with a lighter orange. So I have this colour here, and I know that's not going to affect much really in the way of colour, but it will lighten it up for me a little bit. And I'm just following this. There's a few clouds here and there, thin little clouds that are sitting there. I'm just lightening up this area again. And just with a push either side. I'm just creating those different layers of colour first of all. Okay, now I'm going to start thinking about shading on the outer edges. So I've got this brown, and I'm not going to need much of it because it's quite a deep colour. But I'm just doing a wiggle. I don't know where the clouds are. The clouds are along here. So I'm just going to tuck this shaded area behind that cloud there. That's just as it was. And then we've got a nice big area here that joins up. On the side there's less light, so you would expect dark to be running into light, which is what we're going to emulate here. So where I've already got these existing lines, I'm just going to respect that and put some dark in on either side. And we've got all sorts of things going on. So we need to remember the clouds are here. So I'm just going to continue with this. We've got a nice line along here. So I'm just going to basically just do a line. It's not a very straight line. It doesn't have to be perfect because these clouds are pretty random. And then we have another line underneath here. And you can thicken your line just by doing a slight up and down wiggle. So it's nice and thin here, and then it starts to thicken out and go into the shade on that side. And the same here. So we have more and more shade. And this whole area up here, we'll just push that brown in, follow your line, very, very gently. Off goes my alarm. And over, and just push it through, just like so. There we go. And push and push. So you're just really concentrating on all the light is here, and the edges a little more in shadow. Just put another line in with a wiggle, just like so, and push it into the orange. And we can work on this as much or as little as we want to, really. I think now we're getting the idea of the sky, so I'm just going to accentuate these lines a little more. We can always apply more if we want to. And the edges, where you've got more dark, apply a little more. Some of these edges are darker in places than others. And this area is quite, as it comes down to this one, we don't have an awful lot going on. It more or less kind of ends there. So I'm going to soften that, make this one stronger. And the same on that side. There we go. I'm finding that some of these are quite dusty, the orangey ones. So bear with it if you're getting a lot of dust. You'll have to just keep reapplying and persevering like I'm doing here. So here we've got quite an orangey area. So I want to lighten this up with this yellow and really make it pop a little more. It's just a little too dark. And again here. And just push and push and push away. This is where all the light is. You can bring some of the dark back in by pushing that back in to the frame if you want to. Or you can push it away. And same this either side, I'm just gently pushing, give it a blow. And then you've got this beautiful sun here. I just want to get rid of that bright yellow that's there. It's more of an orangey colour, but we'll come back to that in a minute. So the sun's very orangey, and we've managed to persevere with it and keep this area quite clean, which is good. I want to add some brighter oranges just on the sides of this area, just to bring that back in again. And there we go. And we're just going to continue with adding highlights and all sorts of things. So we'll put some more in here. It's quite a strong yellow there, and I'm really barely going to touch that. I really want that to stay where it is. Now if we look at the sun, it all looks like a really, really bright, vivid yellow, but what I would suggest, just looking at the photograph, is that its core is quite white. So you could go in for a very light cream or white, it's up to you. But I always find that pastels, they're brilliant for doing landscapes with, but sometimes they let you down a little bit when it comes to a sun, because sometimes it's just not strong enough, the whites. So I'm just putting a little bit of white there to begin with, and I'm happy with that. And now we've got this really, really bright yellow, and then all we're going to do is just do a couple of lines, filling in that area around that sun. Because the cool thing about this painting is that, you know, the sky is actually out of focus, so you don't need to be too exacting with your sky, but you'll still get a really effective result with it. So I'm just combining some of this yellow into that red. Into that white, sorry, and then I'm just going to push it slightly away, trying to keep my fingers clean. Push it away. And there we go. Push it away. And we can carry on like, you know, if you want to make this a little brighter with the white, which I think it needs. And we can push some of the oranges back into the frame, just by coming on this side with this strong orange. Just a little, just give it a little bit of, and then all I'm doing now, trying to get my fingers as clean as possible, is just tap, 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 because you just want to get rid of that paper, but you want to keep that colour. So I'm just tapping that in. We've got a lighter yellow here, we can mess around with that and bring that in a bit brighter and around the, I don't know what you call it, maybe a corona, I don't know. We're just gonna, and that's it really. I know it doesn't look like much, but when we put the grasses on and everything, I hope it will all make sense. I've already had to do this once before because I've had technical issues, so fingers crossed I can still do it justice. So that'll do for now. And then we're going to look at these clouds here. I've got quite a nice darkish slate colour here, so I'm going to go quite dramatic with the clouds. And I don't want anyone to panic when they're doing this because it's quite a big step if you've not done it before. But clouds are just so easy to form. You just form them yourself. So all I'm doing is I'm putting the flat side of the pastel on, and there is clouds that kind of, if I note some of the places like this, there's clouds that go along this line here. Okay, but clouds are nice and random, so just take your pastel and just do a random wiggle up and down, thin and thick, up and down, thin and thick. I'm not even looking at the picture now. You might have some sharper edges there, up and down, thick and thin, and you are actually creating cloud shapes just by randomising this wiggle on your page. And you might have a really thick old one there. And that is it really. It's just a very random wiggle, and you've already created something that looks a bit like clouds, doesn't it? And something that you can be proud of. So the next thing I do is I'm just going to tap and just try and preserve the top of the cloud, but we don't need to be too exacting with that today. I always tell my students to avoid the lines where you've got harsh lines. You don't want to go in with your finger. But as I've said before, this is out of focus, this sky. So it doesn't need to be perfect, and that's what makes it more interesting in a way. And just push this pit with your finger. I'm just pulling it down and pushing it around. I want to fill them clouds up now with colour, so that gets rid of all the oranges underneath. And then underneath, just give it a little swoop. Follow the line. Don't be too worried about how that's going to look, because the more that we blend the bottom line, the softer that bottom cloud comes, and the more 3D it starts to look, doesn't it? So then now I've got this shape, and I'm going to just trace the shapes that I've already created. Clouds are really just little semicircles here and there. Look, there's another semicircle. There's another one. So you can put your semicircles all around, or you can just basically trace these random shapes that you've already provided by doing your own random wiggle. And isn't it a lot of fun? So now I'm just doing the outlines of something that's just been created happily by accident, just by wiggling around some pastel, and we have a really effective cloud. Underneath, I'm going to sharpen just some parts of it, because clouds are generally quite flat underneath, but you don't need to do this if you don't want to, and you just like the effect of it just fading at the bottom line. And then I'm not respecting my lines at all. I'm going over them and allowing them to become muddy, because, as I say, this is not in focus. But we want to give the idea of shapes that are happening up here. And another good tip that I usually share is that if you're not certain how your painting is going, you can always take a photograph. That usually makes it stand out for me. Sometimes I can see something's not right, but I can't see what it is I've done wrong. If you take a photograph, it just makes you look a little bit more subjectively at it than before. So I'm just going to put another cloud down here, and I'm just going to wiggle and then go thinner. So this is another type of cloud. We could have another one over here, a bit bigger. A wiggle and then tiny wiggles and let go, like that. So So let's make these clouds quite bold, I think. Now I'm going against the photograph. Let's get a bit creative. I'm just going to push that in and drag across. And then we have another cloud or two that are living in the sky. We've got these quite thick ones here to go back to. And I'm going to go quite thick with it. Take it all the way across and then a wiggle again. Because you want it to thin out into a diffuse light on the sides, like so. And just wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And we'll soften these lines when we come back to it. And wiggle again there. And we could put some more of these lines in. So now it's starting to look quite dramatic actually, isn't it? So where these are, these can be soft and blended. Obviously where your lines are, you want them to stay, so just follow the line with your finger. You can always soften and darken the areas of shade that are on this side if you want. And then follow the line again, just with your finger, just follow it, that's all it is. And that's all there is to it. So we have got quite dramatic clouds, and it's much more dramatic than I did yesterday. And I don't know why, maybe it's because I'm losing patience with my tech issues. So maybe I'm being a little bit more dramatic myself today. I'm going to add a little bit more of this yellow light. I want it to show that, you know, it's lighting up everything above it, the sun. And there we go, a little bit more yellow light. And so that's the dramatic sky, isn't it? I can't say that I'm too happy with it, to be honest with you. I'm thinking that maybe, this is too linear along here, this line here. I mean, it's okay, you know, if you don't get it right all the time. I'm constantly reassessing. And I'm just thinking the thing that's going to work the best is to just add a bit of yellow under these clouds, just to show that they're catching the light below, just to make it look a little bit more believable. I mean, this is your world, you can do whatever you like with it, but I'm just thinking, right, okay, well, we may need a little bit of light showing up on these clouds just to make this look a little bit more dramatic and just a little bit more, I don't know, a bit more correct, I think. And this particular clouds that I've done down here, we can just do what we did before and trace the tops of them. We might have a tiny little one here. Just give that a push. Just on its own there. But we're just now tracing the edges of these clouds again and just pushing it around. We've got a nice one here. Some little semicircle tops. And again, just push that line in and it's nice and diffuse. So it really is starting to look right now. I was panicking then, I thought I'd lost it. On the edges here, I'm just going to put the tiniest bit of a yellow glow. Because these will catch some of it, but not much. And again, here, just the tiniest thin sliver of yellow, just to show that things are picking the light up from below. There we go. So I think we're almost there in terms of sky. And then the next thing we can move on to is the water, which is very easy. Nice and easy. Water is so easy to do, you'll love it. So I think we'll leave that at that. And we'll remove these colours for now. Pop them back in, out of the way. Now we have got some colour down here, but it doesn't matter that I've muddied that up because there is colours coming into the water as well. So just, if you've done what I've done, just wipe it away like that. Now, as this is out of focus, I'm not really sure if this is land that we're seeing here or if it's just the water, but we're going to need to put a nice thick line across the horizon here. I think it might be, you know, it's Maryport, so it might actually just be looking towards the Fells in Scotland or something. But we don't really know what it is, so we'll just emulate that line by placing a nice thick, keep your line straight as you can, nice and thick. Don't need to use any sharp edges or anything to do this line because it's quite a thick one. And just put in, it looks as though it goes a little bit dipped on this side. I'm just observing really what I'm seeing. That's nice and done. And then I'm going to go in with this grey and we're just going to fill the whole page in. But don't press too hard now just drag it across as straight as you can on the vertical like this, and this is where your water effect will just suddenly appear. You don't have to press hard. We're going to keep applying colours on this, but this is going to give us the basis of some waves, and then everything else will work perfectly. It's amazing how just by doing a directional streak of pastel, you can create effects immediately. Well, there we have it, and I'm just going to, with my fingers, pull this along. It's amazing how much different this is to the one I did yesterday. And I'm just pressing that down quite firmly, but I'm not going to interfere with some of the paper that's showing through. And then just do the same with your grey. Just push along, and you can see that where the pastel's hit and missed on the texture of the paper, you're dragging it along and creating waves automatically, which is just so cool. It's already looking convincingly like water, isn't it? And then we can continue to add more colour onto this. I mean, I do think there's more blues in it. So now I've got a nice brightish blue, and I'm just going to very, very lightly tickle the water this time with this one. You see how that's much lighter in pressure? And you see how the bits of pigment drop off and it starts to look like waves? But we don't need to do this technique today because it is out of focus, this picture. So, but it's still nice to put it there. But don't be too thick, as I said before, with your pastels, because you want to be able to put these big long grasses in front of it. And again, just a horizontal push, left to right, right to left, it doesn't really matter. But look at that. I mean, how could you create water as quickly like that with anything else? You just can't. It's just not possible. I've got some pinks here as well, a light pink. There does seem to be a bit of a haze going on underneath. So I'm just putting in a thickish line of this pink. But again, just be careful with your application. Don't overdo it. And it fades. And I'm just going to do the same thing again. Just push, push. I think I'll go in a bit stronger with some stronger pink on this side. And it's just the flatness of the pastel that I'm using now. I'm not using any edges, it's just one swoop and then a push, and that is it. And goodness, that looks already like a very, very nice sea. But we're going to fill this up with grass, so this is all gone really. So we don't need to spend any more time on that. Okay. Next is grasses. If you prefer, you could use a charcoal pencil, or you can just use your pastels. I always say with pastels and a charcoal pencil or pastel pencils, there's always going to be a trade-off with that, in that as much that these are not as rich in colour, because they've been made to try and survive as a point on the end of a pencil like that without crumbling. And if you're using pastels, you already know how crumbly pastels are. So there is a trade-off with the vibrancy of a pastel pencil versus the actual pastel. So if you can, try and use the sharp edge of your pastel more. And for the finer details, definitely, you know, a pastel pencil is great, it's king. But using it excessively is just going to make your composition not look right. So, and just too watery really. So now we're going to get brave. Most of the grasses are growing in this direction. So I'm just going to start by putting in, using the sharp edge and just flicking it up, the general shapes of grasses. And you just need to be, you have to be brave. I know you guys have done all this wonderful work on making this sky look beautiful and ridiculously gorgeous. But now we've got to get brave and put some big fat grasses in. And most of the grasses are growing like this direction, if you look at it. They're mostly going like that. So just build and build, and just be brave with your pastel application. This is the time when you need your nerve, but it is worth it. Remember that these reeds are going to be thicker at the base, and there's obviously going to be a lot more of them lower down, so it's going to be denser in grasses lower down than it is at the top. So then when you've put a line in, try and thicken that line with your pastel again, and just curve into that. It's going to go thinner and thinner to the top, so just follow that line really. If you're finding, like I am today for some reason, that your pastels aren't blending in so well as individual stalks, you can, if you're very careful, try and keep your finger extremely clean and do not go over the edges. Once you've made your position on this grass, that's it, and then follow it. And if you do that, you're not actually interfering with colour and you're not causing a blur. if you see what I mean. So clean finger again, place your finger where it's going to stay and follow that line. Do not deviate from it, just follow, 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 follow. And then all you're doing is you're not mixing your colours up together then. Clean finger again, and you see, now we've got a line, it's a little bit more better blended. Same here, clean finger. But I know I'm getting thinner at the top, so another thing I will do is work from the top down on this one, because that black line, which is going to cause all the mess, is getting wider at the base. It doesn't matter that you're getting more of the black on your finger as you go down, really, does it? It matters more that you're taking black up with your finger and then to the tip of your grass, which would then look muddy. So you can just go around there and keep your fingers clean and do this, and you can fill in your little grasses a bit better if you want to. And this is something I'm going to do very quickly today. We've had a lot of technical issues. I'm keen to get this uploaded so that you have this in time for today's class. So I'm going to keep it quite minimal, but you guys can look at the photograph and you can work out how your reeds are living and do your own interpretation in your own time. So for now I'm just going to carry on. We might have a really big brave one there, another brave one that's coming down here, but you just need to think about being brave with this. You know, there's so many grasses. There might be one that's going up and over. It's living quite happily down here. And we're applying this black quite heavily now and thickening that line further down, just like so. And you're going to have other reeds that didn't make it so high, so we can fill in that bottom line with some more reeds. You might have one that has just got a little bit brave and it's poking up here by the sun, but it's a bit bent. It's your world and you can make this whatever you like. If you don't want the grasses and you just want the sea, keep the sea. You know, it doesn't have to be so brave and bold like this. If you feel that you've done a good job and you're scared of ruining it, just stop there and enjoy what you've done. Because sun and sea without grasses is fine too. It's absolutely fine. It's whatever you want it to be. And in this moment I hope that you're all very relaxed and very happy and just enjoying what you're doing. So I'm just now trying to blend in some of these lines, which I think are a bit rough looking. But I'm not going to work too heavily on it, as I said. I'm going to just leave this to you guys to finish. We might have a great big one in here that's gone all the way up and over, because we're so close to these grasses, you know. And there might be part of a big thick stalk here. Just use your imagination. So this one here might be where it's coming off of. And obviously that's going to get thicker and then thinner. Thicker at the base and thinner at the top. So we can retrace that and thicken that a bit. A nice sharp edge if we want it. And we might have others that are very much so in the same direction. This wind is blowing everything that way, isn't it? So all we're doing here is just being quite liberal with these lines. I mean, grasses are pretty straightforward things to do. As you remember, they just get thick at the end, thinner at the top. This might be a really big, thick, strong one. And he might have a thinner brother next to him. A little stubby one. We could have a nice tall one that's saying, well, I'm living up here and I'm not going to get bothered by the wind. I'm not rattled. And we just continue to add these lines. And I'm not going to go much more into it than that, really. It's your world and you can make these grasses live and behave and grow however you like. Just going quite strong with your bold lines of grass and just keep on with it until you feel like you've created a really good foreground of grasses here. And now I'm just going to now get quite randomised with it, and it's not that I'm losing patience. It's just I'm just keen. I am very keen to get this online and ready for you guys today, because it should have been done yesterday, but unfortunately the video didn't work. I might have a nice strong one there as well. And you can put as little or as many or as much in the way of grasses on here as you like. It is your world. If you just want a few stalks, have a few stalks. I want to say, if you really love your seed and you want to leave it, just leave it. And, you know, but by all means, please share your work with me. My website is emmahunt.art. Hopefully there'll be more about workshops on there very shortly, as I'm just gearing up to that. It's only just gone live. I hope you like it. A lot of my stuff is announced on Facebook currently, but I am gearing more towards YouTube now, trying to make it more available to everybody, not just people that are on Facebook, because I know some of you have to sneak in with an account to get on to watch it and to take part, and I want to make it as inclusive as possible for any age, for anywhere, you know, and that's basically what we want to be doing. So now I'm just gonna quickly, because I'm keen to finish this, and I'm sure you guys will do a much tidier job. Quickly, I'm just gonna go over these lines, and where I've got quite dense patches, I don't really like that. I want to make it look a lot smoother. I mean, I could go in and just go over it again with more pastel, you know, but it is quite muddy looking to me. For now, I'd much prefer it to be a lot sharper. So I'm just going to go in a little harder with the pastel at the bases as well. And I'm sure you guys will be able to make a much better job at making these grasses not look so muddy. So I'm just going to give that a blow. And again, I'm just going to start where there's thicker areas, just trying to soften them lines so they don't look so muddy. But you've got to be careful, because obviously the black will overlap into the greys behind, so constantly keep your finger wiped if you want to avoid that kind of effect. Because you can see here there's a bit of the black gone over on that line, but if you keep your finger clean and don't deviate from that line, it will work. So from the thin part up, just trying to keep your fingers as clean as possible, just to make that line a little bit more definitive. And smoother. It is quite dusty, this black, actually. But yeah, just go over your lines. You can then go in with a pastel pencil if you wanted to put in some finer lines, just to make it look even more effective. This one might have some flower on it or something. This one could be more of a piece of corn kind of thing. We can make some more of that if we want to. And then you can just now put in finer lines, but just don't overuse the charcoal, because it can leave kind of a waxy marks on the paper as well. So don't overuse it. If you've got a sharper pastel than I've got here, because this is a bit of a stubby one, it probably would have been easier to use a thinner one. By all means, use that to do your lines as well. And then I'm just going to, down this area here, I'm just going to do a general scooch with the black, just to make this look denser at the bottom, because at some point all of these come together, don't they? So what I'm doing now is I'm just gently going over with this black, just to give the indication of density, and then at the very base here it will be quite dark. And now we can just gently push across, a little circular motion, very light, because you still want to see the gaps. You're not making it just a completely big black mess. You're still allowing the pastel colours to show through the other way. And then further down we can go a bit darker and a little bit more nondescript by just doing an upward wiggle like so, and then over. And I think we're about done, really. Get your dust off your painting. Anything that you want to add to it in your mind, that it's your world, go ahead. Please share your work with me. I'm on Facebook at Emma Hunt Art, and you can see me doing a beginners one every Thursday, hopefully 2 PM, depending on tech issues. I try to get it on time, and it will be posted on Facebook and also on YouTube, which is where it will be uploaded from now on. Fingers crossed this works. I hope you've enjoyed it, guys. please give me a like and a follow on the page, and then you'll be updated with the regular events that are occurring. And I really hope you enjoyed it, and that you join in with me to do these workshops. And I'd love to see some more entries for the competition as well, because your artwork is absolutely stunning. You're doing so well, everyone. So that's it. Sign your work, and please send it on to me. I love seeing it. It makes my day. And I hope you've enjoyed it. See you soon, guys. Bye. Bye.